On the distant planet of Zephora, the twin suns glimmered across a sky painted in shades of orange and violet. Tall metallic spires dotted the horizon, remnants of a once great civilization long forgotten. Amid these ruins, humans had only recently begun to explore, driven by curiosity and the hope of understanding the vast galaxy. Among them was Captain Adrian Kane, a human explorer known for his intelligence, courage, and compassion. Adrian's ship, the Horizon, hovered silently above the desolate plains. Its engines hummed softly, the only sound against the eerie silence of Zephora. As he gazed through the viewport, Adrian could see movement below, figures navigating the ruins, performing tasks with precision, yet with an air of quiet obedience. Something about them made his chest tighten. There was a lack of freedom, a stillness that felt unnatural. Among these figures was one who stood apart. She moved with grace, but her eyes carried a hint of sadness, a quiet longing for something more than her daily duties. Adrian had seen countless beings on his travels, but there was something different about her. Adrian landed his ship carefully, the metal feet touching the ground with a soft thud. He stepped out into the alien air, which smelled faintly of minerals and ozone. The ruins were massive, the structures twisting and bending into the sky like frozen lightning. He approached the figures, who halted their work and watched him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. The one who had caught Adrian's attention stepped forward. She was tall, with smooth silver skin and hair that shimmered like liquid moonlight. Her eyes, a deep shade of violet, met his. And in that brief moment, Adrian sensed something profound. She was aware, intelligent, and yearning for a choice she had never been allowed to make. "You do not belong here," she said softly. Her voice was calm, yet there was an edge of caution. "I am not here to harm you," Adrian replied, raising his hands in peace. "I'm here to learn, and maybe to help." For a moment, the ruins were silent. Then she spoke again. "Help is not given freely here." Adrian nodded. He had read about Zephora's past. This planet had once been a center of knowledge and art, but over centuries, control had replaced freedom. Those who lived here now, like her, had roles dictated by others. There was no choice, no opportunity to decide one's path. "I do not follow your laws," Adrian said firmly. "I follow the laws of humanity, laws of respect, choice, and freedom. And if you allow it, I will show you a life where you can decide for yourself." Her expression remained cautious, but curiosity flickered across her face. Freedom is dangerous. Those who choose their own path are often hunted. Adrian stepped closer. "I am not here to hunt you. I am here to fight for your right to choose. No one should be forced to live without hope." Over the next several days, Adrian observed her life in the ruins. She moved among the others, carrying out duties with perfect efficiency, but he noticed the small gestures of rebellion. A pause here, a glance there, subtle ways of expressing individuality. Adrian realized that she had the potential to lead, to inspire, and to create if given the chance. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of red, Adrian approached her again. "You are different from the others," he said. "I see it in the way you move, the way you think. You have a mind and a heart capable of so much more." She looked away, her expression shadowed with doubt. "Words are easy. Actions, they cost more than words can ever explain." Adrian smiled gently. "Then let me act. Let me show you what humanity believes in: courage, friendship, and freedom. Together, we can change your world." For a long moment, she remained silent. Then slowly she nodded. I will watch, but I will not trust easily." "That is all I ask," Adrian said. The next challenge came sooner than expected. A patrol of Zephora's enforcers approached, sleek and armored, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They had noticed Adrian's presence and the attention he drew. His human technology was strange to them, and the patrol saw it as a threat. Adrian raised his hands in peace, stepping forward. "I mean no harm. I only want to speak—" Before he could finish, one of the enforcers fired a warning shot, a beam of energy that scorched the ground near his feet. Adrian reacted instinctively, deploying a small energy shield. Sparks flew, but the shield held. The woman, whose name he had learned was Lyra, stepped forward. She raised her hand, and with a gesture, a subtle wave of energy pulsed from her, disabling the enforcer's weapons temporarily. Adrian watched, astonished. "You have power," he said, impressed. "I do what I must," Lyra replied, her eyes hardened. "But power alone does not free anyone. Courage, strategy, heart, these are what matter." Adrian nodded. "Then let us use all three." Together, they led the enforcers away from the ruins, outmaneuvering them with clever tactics and careful planning. By the time the suns rose again, the enforcers were gone, and Adrian and Lyra stood atop a cliff overlooking the ruins. "You could have fought them alone," Adrian said. Lyra shook her head. "And lost. Alone I am strong, but together we can be unstoppable." Adrian smiled. "Then we will be unstoppable. And one day, you will decide for yourself what your life truly means." She looked at him, a faint smile appearing for the first time. For the first time in many cycles, she felt a spark of hope. Hope that she could be more than a servant, that she could choose her own destiny. As the days passed, Adrian and Lyra explored the ruins together. He taught her about human inventions, stories, and philosophy. She taught him about Zephora's history, the science hidden in its stones, and the subtle ways her people had survived for centuries under strict control. Their bond grew, not as master and servant, but as allies, as partners in discovery. Every challenge they faced, from rogue wildlife to collapsing structures, only strengthened their trust. Adrian saw in Lyra a spirit that refused to be broken, a mind capable of creative brilliance. One evening, while examining an ancient archive, Lyra paused. "Humans? You fight not just with weapons, but with ideas. You fight with hope. That is, something my world has forgotten." Adrian placed a hand on hers. "And that is why we can change it, together." For the first time, Lyra considered a life beyond orders and obedience, a life where she could choose, create, and live freely. And for the first time in centuries, Zephora seemed less like a prison and more like a place of possibility. That night, as the twin moons rose, casting silver light across the ruins, Adrian and Lyra sat on a hill overlooking the settlement. The air was still, but alive with potential. "Do you think we can really change things?" Lyra asked softly. Adrian nodded. "I do. Humans have a saying, courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. You have courage. I have courage. And together, we have hope." Lyra's violet eyes glimmered. For the first time, she felt the possibility of freedom not as a dream, but as a future within reach. And so their journey began, not as master and servant, but as two beings united by choice, courage, and the spark of humanity's unwavering belief in freedom. The ruins of Zephora, silent for so long, were about to witness a new chapter in history, one where humans and Zephorans could stand side by side, proving that intelligence, bravery, and compassion could overcome even the strictest chains. The morning light broke across Zephora's horizon in soft pink and gold, casting long shadows over the ruins. Adrian and Lyra had spent the night planning. The ruins were alive with hidden dangers, ancient traps, collapsing structures, and enforcers, who still patrolled the outskirts. But the challenge excited them both. Every obstacle was an opportunity to prove that intelligence, courage, and partnership could triumph. Lyra led Adrian through a maze of metallic corridors, once used as the central hub of Zephora's city. She moved gracefully, pointing out areas where the structure was unstable or where energy lines still hummed with life. "This place is older than your records show," she said. "The builders knew things we barely understand. Many of the traps are not mechanical, they are designed to test the mind and spirit." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "A puzzle world, then? I like it already." She smiled faintly. "Do not be overconfident. Many have entered these halls and never returned." Despite the warning, Adrian followed her with steady determination. Together, they reached a chamber that seemed untouched for centuries. Crystals lined the walls, glowing faintly with an energy that resonated in Adrian's chest. He felt a pulse of excitement. Ancient knowledge and human curiosity, the perfect combination. "This chamber," Lyra explained, "is said to hold the records of Zephora's greatest leaders. But the doors are sealed. Only those who understand the balance of thought and action can enter." Adrian examined the complex locks. They were a combination of geometric symbols and energy fields, reacting to touch and movement. He turned to Lyra. "I think we can open this, but I will need your help." Lyra nodded, stepping forward. "Then we must act together, not as human and Zephyrin, but as partners." As they worked side by side, they noticed a subtle change in the energy around the chamber. It was almost as if the ruins themselves were testing them, responding to every thought, every action. Adrian applied his human logic while Lyra contributed her Zephyrin intuition. The combination worked. Slowly, the energy lock shifted, symbols realigned, and the massive doors began to open with a low hum. Inside, the chamber was breathtaking. Holographic images flickered to life, showing Zephora's history in vivid detail. Civilizations rising and falling, leaders making choices that shaped the planet's fate, and most importantly, the moment when control replaced freedom. Lyra's eyes widened. This is everything. This is our story, our lost knowledge." Adrian studied the displays carefully. "It's incredible. Your people were brilliant, strategists, philosophers, engineers, but something changed. Power overtook purpose, and fear replaced choice." Lyra's expression darkened. "Yes, and now many are trapped in obedience. Only a few dare to question. Only a few, like you, can show a path to change." Adrian placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then we will be those few. Together, we will awaken the rest." Their triumph was short-lived. A distant rumble echoed through the ruins, a patrol approaching. The enforcers had discovered their presence and were advancing faster than expected. Adrian quickly calculated the risks. "We need to leave now, but we cannot go the same way we came. They will be waiting." Lyra nodded, leading him to a narrow tunnel beneath the chamber. The path was barely wide enough for them to move quickly, and energy fields sparked intermittently along the walls. Adrian ducked and jumped, relying on Lyra's guidance. She moved with agility born of years navigating this place, and he followed her every step. Suddenly, a loud crash behind them signaled that the enforcers had reached the chamber. Sparks flew as a metallic door slammed shut. "We're not alone," Adrian whispered. From the shadows, a figure stepped forward, another Zephyrin, but unlike the enforcers. This one moved with quiet authority, her silver skin glinting in the dim light. Her eyes, sharp and calculating, studied them carefully. "Who are you?" Lyra asked cautiously. "I am Seren, a protector of Zephora's knowledge," the stranger replied. "And you are trespassing where few dare." Adrian stepped forward. "We mean no harm. We seek only to restore freedom and understanding. We wish to help your people, not control them." Serene's gaze flicked between Lyra and Adrian. Help? Many have claimed that word, but the enforcers do not forgive those who defy orders. Lyra straightened. We are already defying them, and we will continue to do so. Our people deserve choice. They deserve life beyond fear. Serene considered this, her expression unreadable. Then she nodded slowly. Perhaps. You are not like the others. But understand this. Freedom is dangerous. Those who seek it must be prepared to fight, to think, and to act with strength and wisdom. Adrian smiled. Then we will. Together. The three of them moved carefully through the tunnels, avoiding patrols and collapsing sections of the ruins. Along the way, Lyra taught Adrian how the energy systems worked, how traps could be used to their advantage, and how Xiphorans had survived under control for centuries. Adrian, in turn, shared human strategies, ways to anticipate movement, create diversions, and solve complex problems with logic and teamwork. As night fell, they reached a hidden courtyard, overgrown with alien vegetation and bathed in silver moonlight. The air was thick with the scent of strange flowers and the faint hum of ancient machinery. Here, Adrian and Lyra paused to rest. "You've taught me so much," Lyra said softly. "I never imagined anyone could see me as an equal and trust me as a partner." Adrian shook his head. "It is not about seeing you as equal. It is about seeing you as yourself. That is what freedom is. You are capable of brilliance, of leadership, of choosing your own path. I only help you see it." For the first time, Lyra felt a surge of hope that went beyond mere survival. She imagined a world where her people could live freely, make decisions, and explore knowledge without fear. And she knew that, with Adrian by her side, such a world was possible. But danger was never far. The next morning, the enforcers returned, stronger and more determined. Their patrols were coordinated, using sensors and communication networks Adrian had never seen before. It was clear that Zephora's ruling powers were aware of intruders, and they were not willing to let them succeed. Adrian and Lyra prepared traps and diversions, using both human ingenuity and Xiphoran technology. Rocks moved silently, energy lines redirected, and holographic projections created illusions of larger forces. When the enforcers arrived, they were met with confusion, misdirection, and a coordinated resistance they did not anticipate. Lyra's leadership shone in these moments. She directed the defenses with precision, and Adrian supported her with strategy and quick thinking. Together they made the enforcers retreat, though not without cost. Several structures collapsed, and debris forced them to find alternative paths deeper into the ruins. After the skirmish, Lyra turned to Adrian. "We cannot stay here much longer. They will regroup. But if we move carefully, we can reach the central archives, where the heart of Xiphora's knowledge lies." Adrian nodded. "Then that is our next goal. We will not just survive. We will restore choice to your people. And when we do, Zephora will never be the same." As they pressed forward, Lyra reflected on the journey so far. She remembered the days when her life was dictated by others, her movements monitored, her choices limited. Now, for the first time, she was making her own decisions. She was learning, growing, and realizing that her strength was not only in obedience or survival, but in courage, intelligence, and partnership. And beside her, Adrian Kane embodied everything she had never known about humanity: bravery, creativity, compassion, and unwavering belief in freedom. Together, they were more than explorers. They were a force for change. The ruins of Zephora, once silent and oppressive, now echoed with movement, strategy, and hope. Each step they took was a step toward a future where choice mattered, where fear could be replaced by courage, and where humans and Zephorans could stand together as allies, equals, and friends. Adrian, Lyra, and Serene moved cautiously through the labyrinth of ruins, deeper than any human had ever gone. The tunnels grew narrower, the air thick with the hum of dormant machinery. Every step echoed against walls that had seen centuries of history, and Adrian felt a strange excitement. Each challenge was a test, not of strength alone, but of intelligence, courage, and partnership, qualities humans excelled at. "This way," Lyra whispered, leading them down a passage that twisted like a spiral staircase. "The central archives lie ahead. Few have reached it, and fewer have returned." Adrian nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing on him. "Then we'll make history ourselves," he said. "We will reach it, and we will bring freedom to your people." Seren's eyes glimmered. "Many tried with weapons or strength. You survive with ideas. Perhaps this is why you are different, human." Adrian smiled, humbled by the praise. "We do what we must, and we do it together." The central archives loomed ahead, a massive structure carved from living crystal. Its surface shimmered in the dim light, reflecting the combined glow of Zyphora's twin moons. Energy flowed across its walls, forming intricate patterns, almost like a language. Lyra paused, placing her hands on the crystalline surface. "This is alive," she murmured. "The archives respond to thought, to intent. Only those with pure purpose and a clear mind can enter." Adrian stepped forward, examining the glowing inscriptions. His fingers traced the patterns carefully. "It's like a puzzle, but it's not just the symbols, it's the reasoning behind them. We need both logic and intuition." Lyra nodded. "Then we combine what we know. Humans see patterns, Zifferans feel patterns. Together, we will succeed." Seren, who had been silent until now, added, "And remember, the archives will test you. It will try to confuse, mislead, and even frighten. Stay united and stay true to your goal." Inside, the archives were breathtaking. Walls of crystal formed chambers that seemed endless, filled with holographic images and floating glyphs. The energy hummed softly, resonating with their thoughts. Adrian realized that this was more than knowledge. It was Zyphora itself, preserved and aware. As they advanced, the archives began to shift. Paths rearranged, doors appeared where none existed, and illusions of enforcers and collapsing walls tested their courage. Adrian quickly assessed each situation, using human logic to find safe passages. Lyra added her intuition, sensing which illusions were traps and which were hints to proceed. "This place, it tests both mind and heart," Lyra said, eyes wide as a holographic chasm opened beneath them. "We cannot rely on strength alone." Adrian stepped carefully, analyzing the energy patterns. "Then we rely on strategy, step by step, observation by observation, and trust one another." They advanced in silence, every step requiring attention, every decision carrying weight. The archives seemed to respond to them as if judging their worthiness. Occasionally, Lyra's hand would brush Adrian's, a subtle sign of encouragement, reminding him that they were partners, not just allies, but equals in the mission. Suddenly, the archive's energy flared. A massive chamber opened before them, filled with floating crystal data cores. Each one contained centuries of Zyphora's history, technology, and secrets. At the center, a towering holographic figure appeared, an ancient leader of Zyphora, its presence commanding and wise. "You have entered the heart of Zyphora," the figure intoned. Its voice was calm yet powerful, resonating in their minds. "Only those worthy may access the knowledge and guide your people toward freedom. But beware, the path is not without peril. Those who seek to control others will resist, and only courage, intelligence, and unity will prevail." Adrian stepped forward. "We seek only to restore choice, freedom, and knowledge. We do not come to dominate, only to liberate." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly. "We are prepared. We will face any challenge together. The figure's holographic form shimmered. Then prove it. Solve the trial of mind and spirit, and the heart of Zephora shall be yours. The trial began immediately. Energy glyphs spun around them, forming complex puzzles. Some were logic challenges, matching patterns, aligning sequences, decoding symbols. Others were emotional, reflecting fears, doubts, and memories, testing their resolve. Adrian focused, using human reasoning to solve the logic puzzles. Lyra guided them through the emotional challenges, interpreting the subtle responses of the archive's energy. Seren provided insight into Xipheran traditions embedded in the trials. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The three of them moved in perfect coordination, each step forward a triumph of partnership and ingenuity. At times, the puzzles seemed impossible, but Adrian reminded them, there is always a solution. We just need to see it together. Lyra added, and remember, fear and doubt are the enemies. Trust yourselves and trust each other. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the trial's energy pulsed and then receded. The chamber fell silent, the crystal data cores glowing softly, welcoming them. The heart of Zephora had recognized their worth. As they explored the archives, they uncovered incredible knowledge, technologies for sustainable energy, medical advancements, and strategies for peaceful governance. Lyra's people had once been brilliant, capable of creating wonders beyond imagination. Adrian realized that the Xipherans' potential was limitless, if only they could be free. We can bring this knowledge to your people, Adrian said, awe in his voice. We can help them rebuild, not under control, but under choice and understanding. Lyra nodded, determination shining in her eyes. It will not be easy. The enforcers will resist, but now we have the tools, and we have hope. Seren stepped forward. You have proven yourselves, but remember, freedom is not a gift. It is a responsibility. You must guide others wisely and protect those who cannot protect themselves. Adrian placed a hand on the nearest crystal. Then we will. Humanity believes in courage, intelligence, and compassion. These are not just ideas, they are actions, and we will act. As they prepared to leave the archives, a warning flashed across the chamber's energy field. The enforcers had discovered their path and were advancing rapidly. Adrian quickly analyzed the situation. We need to move fast, but we can use the archives themselves to our advantage. Lyra's eyes brightened. We can create illusions, redirect paths, and slow them down. The archives respond to thought. We can guide them into traps. Together, they manipulated the energy of the chamber, creating false corridors and hidden pitfalls. When the enforcers arrived, they were confused and disoriented, wandering in circles while Adrian, Lyra, and Seren slipped away through a secret exit. Outside, the twin suns were rising again, casting warm light over the ruins. Adrian looked at Lyra. We did it. Not alone, but together. Lyra smiled. Yes, and we are only beginning. Zephora can be free, but it will take courage, strategy, and unity. Seren nodded. Then let us show the way. Knowledge is power, but freedom is greater. As they moved toward the heart of the ruins, where the population still lived under control, Adrian felt a surge of hope. Humans had faced impossible odds across the galaxy, and yet ingenuity, courage, and compassion had always prevailed. Now, on Zephora, those same qualities would shine. Lyra reflected on her journey. Once, she had been obedient, fearful, and resigned. Now she was a leader, capable of inspiring change. Adrian had not just freed her, he had shown her the power of choice, partnership, and hope. Together they were more than explorers, they were champions of freedom, and the ruins, silent witnesses for centuries, seemed to hum with anticipation. Zephora's future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Freedom would rise, and humanity's spirit would lead the way. The ruins of Zephora stretched endlessly before Adrian, Lyra, and Seren. The twin suns were high in the sky, their light casting metallic gleams across the broken towers and crystal spires. The central archives had given them knowledge, strategy, and courage. But now it was time to act in the real world, where people lived under the Enforcer's control. Lyra stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the settlement below. Her violet eyes scanned the structures, noting the watchtowers, patrol paths, and living quarters of her people. For centuries, these had been places of fear, where obedience was demanded and choice was forbidden. But Lyra had learned something invaluable. Knowledge alone was not enough. Courage and action were required to ignite freedom. "We cannot storm their stronghold," she said softly. "They are too many, and we are few. But we can inspire our people. If they see us acting, they will follow." Adrian nodded, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Humans always look for patterns. If we create a clear path and lead with strategy, others will see it and join. We just need to be clever, careful, and united." Seren added, "And we have the archives. Their energy and knowledge can guide us. We can use it to create diversions, plan routes, and train those willing to act." Lyra took a deep breath. "Then let us begin." The first step was subtle. Adrian and Lyra moved through the settlement at night, observing their people, learning their routines, and discovering their strengths. They encountered artisans who once built wonders, engineers who had designed incredible machines, and scholars who had been silenced for centuries. Each one carried untapped potential, waiting for guidance. Adrian approached a small group of Xiphorans in a hidden courtyard. "Your skills are valuable," he said. "You do not have to obey blindly. You can choose. You can help rebuild your world with freedom, not fear." At first, the group hesitated. Fear was strong, and the Enforcer's presence was intimidating. But Lyra stepped forward, her voice firm and confident. "I know what it is to live without choice. I have seen the strength in human courage. If we stand together, we can create a life where no one is forced to obey unjust orders." Slowly, hope began to grow. One by one, Xiphorans joined them, ready to take small actions to reclaim their freedom. They were careful, clever, and determined, not through force alone, but through planning, intelligence, and unity. Adrian and Lyra decided to divide their efforts. Adrian would lead strategy and technology, teaching the Xiphorans how to use hidden machinery, redirect patrols, and create protective systems. Lyra would lead inspiration and coordination, moving through neighborhoods to speak with those too afraid to act. Seren stayed at the archives, using her knowledge to send guidance and warnings when danger approached. The first operation was simple but critical. They targeted a communication tower used by the Enforcers. By redirecting the energy lines and using human-designed signal interference, they were able to disable the patrol alerts without direct confrontation. When the Enforcers returned, they found nothing amiss, unaware that freedom was slowly spreading beneath their noses. "This is just the beginning," Adrian whispered to Lyra. "Every small action creates a ripple. Soon, they will feel the change." Lyra nodded, determination in her eyes. "And when the people see hope, nothing can stop them. Courage is contagious." Word of small successes traveled quickly. Xiphorans who had long felt powerless began to act, repairing machines, organizing safe paths, and sharing knowledge with neighbors. They moved quietly at first, careful to avoid the Enforcer's notice. But soon the settlements were buzzing with activity, with humans and Xiphorans working side by side. Adrian was amazed. "I have seen humans lead, but the Xiphorans' intelligence and creativity are extraordinary. Together we can achieve more than I imagined." Lyra smiled, her heart swelling with pride. They just needed someone to believe in them, and someone to show that freedom is possible. Once they believe, nothing can hold them back. Even small victories mattered. They freed trapped knowledge, repaired ancient devices, and guided artisans to construct tools that could assist in defense and communication. Slowly, the enforcers' control weakened as the people learned to think, act, and work independently. But the enforcers were not idle. They sensed a growing resistance and increased their patrols. Adrian, Lyra, and their growing group had to act quickly, using strategy, distraction, and intelligence to stay ahead. One night, a squad of enforcers discovered part of their network. Alerted, Adrian devised a clever trap. Holographic decoys created the illusion of larger forces, while hidden routes allowed their group to escape unnoticed. Lyra led her people with precision, making sure no one panicked. Stay calm, observe, act together. Courage is not absence of fear. It is moving forward despite it. The enforcers were frustrated. They could not understand how a small group of humans and Zephorans seemed to anticipate their every move. Adrian's strategies combined with Lyra's insight created an unstoppable intelligence network, proving that courage and creativity often outweigh brute force. Over time, the resistance grew stronger. Villagers and citizens who had been hesitant joined the cause, inspired by the human example and Lyra's leadership. They built signals, safe zones, and communication networks. Patrols became less effective as the people moved unpredictably and cleverly. Zephora, once silent and fearful, began to hum with activity, energy, and hope. Adrian reflected on the progress. Humans had faced empires, tyrants, and impossible odds before, but the principles were the same: intelligence, strategy, courage, and unity. Now, these same principles were spreading across Zephora. Lyra, standing on a hill overlooking a settlement, saw the glow of lights from hidden workshops, the faint hum of repaired machines, and the movement of people who were no longer afraid. "We are winning," she whispered, "not with weapons, but with hope, with knowledge, with courage." Adrian stood beside her. "And soon, the enforcers will have to choose, adapt or be left behind. Humanity has always found a way to inspire change, and your people have shown the same strength. Together, nothing can stop us." The first major confrontation came when an enforcer captain discovered the growing network. Determined to regain control, he mobilized forces to capture Adrian and Lyra. But the resistance had prepared. Hidden barricades, energy traps, and diversion routes made the enforcers' advance chaotic. Adrian directed the operation like a general in a human army, but with precision and creativity rather than brute force. Lyra inspired her people, giving clear instructions and motivating them to act courageously. Seren coordinated from the archives, using knowledge and energy to guide them. By the time the enforcers reached the settlement, they found themselves surrounded, not by soldiers, but by a united population acting with intelligence and bravery. Humans and Zephyrans worked as one, showing that courage, ingenuity, and unity could outmatch oppression. The enforcer captain realized the battle was lost, not because of weapons or numbers, but because of willpower, planning, and collaboration. With a final signal, he retreated, leaving the settlement in the hands of its people. That night, the settlement celebrated quietly, knowing the battle was won, but the war for freedom continued. Adrian walked among the people, proud of what they had achieved. "This is the power of humans and Zephyrans working together," he said, "not through fear, but through intelligence, courage, and hope. Remember this: freedom is something worth protecting every day." Lyra stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the glow of the twin moons. "I have learned more than I ever imagined. Courage is not given, it is chosen. Knowledge is not valuable unless it is shared. And freedom is the greatest gift of all." Seren joined them, smiling for the first time in decades. Your actions have awakened Zephora. The archives and the people have recognized your worth. You are the leaders who will guide our world into a new era. Adrian placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. And we do it together. Humans have a saying, united we stand, divided we fall. Today we stand united, not as human and Zephoran, but as allies, friends, and champions of freedom. As dawn broke across Zephora, the settlements were alive with possibility. Citizens worked together, built new tools, and shared knowledge. Enforcers were no longer feared. They were watched, outsmarted, and sometimes inspired by the courage of those they once controlled. Lyra looked at the horizon. This is only the beginning. There will be challenges, but now we know what is possible. Freedom can spread, one step at a time, through courage, intelligence, and unity. Adrian smiled. And humans will be there to help, just as we always have. We fight for knowledge, compassion, and freedom, because that is what makes us human. The ruins, once silent and oppressive, now echoed with energy, movement, and hope. Zephora was awakening, and its future belonged to those who chose courage, knowledge, and freedom. The settlement of Zephora stirred with life as the twin suns rose, casting golden light across the metallic ruins and crystal spires. For the first time in centuries, the people moved freely, guided not by fear, but by choice. Children ran along the streets, artisans repaired machines, and engineers tested devices long forgotten. Freedom was no longer a dream. It was a living, breathing reality. Adrian stood on a high terrace, observing the activity below. Beside him, Lyra rested her hand lightly on the railing. Her eyes shone with pride, hope, and determination. Seren stood nearby, overseeing communications with the remaining settlements, ensuring the flow of knowledge and guidance remained uninterrupted. "We did it," Adrian said softly, "not with weapons or force, but with courage, intelligence, and unity. Your people are free." Lyra smiled, a warmth spreading across her face. "Yes, and the best part is, they did it themselves. We showed them the way, but they chose to step forward. Freedom is strongest when it is chosen, not given." Seren nodded in agreement. "They are ready to rebuild, to innovate, and to govern themselves. Zephora will never again be controlled by fear." The first challenge after liberation was establishing order without authority. While enforcers had retreated, remnants of fear and old habits lingered among the people. Lyra called a meeting in the central square, a place long unused except for orders and commands. "My friends," she began, her voice firm yet kind, "for centuries we were told we had no choice. But today, you are free. Freedom is more than the absence of control. It is the ability to make decisions, learn, and grow. Each of you has knowledge, talent, and courage. Together, we can rebuild Zephora into a world of hope, creativity, and collaboration." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd. People who had never spoken freely before now raised their voices in excitement, offering ideas, suggestions, and solutions. Adrian stepped forward. "Humans have learned that knowledge grows strongest when shared, and courage spreads fastest when it inspires others. Use your skills. Teach, innovate, explore. The future belongs to those who choose it." The people listened. Slowly but surely, the first steps toward a new civilization began. Lyra and Adrian worked tirelessly to integrate knowledge from the archives into everyday life. Engineers restored energy grids, scientists analyzed ancient Zephoran technology, and artisans rebuilt structures once abandoned to decay. Every success strengthened the confidence of the population, showing them that choice and intelligence were tools as powerful as any weapon. One day, while examining a restored observatory, Adrian turned to Lyra. "Your people are brilliant. I have seen humans build incredible machines and civilizations, but Zephorans, when given freedom, are remarkable. Together we can create wonders beyond imagination. Lyra laughed softly. I think we have already begun. And you, human, you brought courage and hope when we had forgotten both. You showed us that freedom is possible. Adrian shook his head. It is not me alone. It is all of us together. Human and Xiphoran. Knowledge, courage, partnership. That is what changes the world. As the days passed, the settlement grew stronger. Trade, learning, and exploration resumed. The people repaired old communication networks, reactivated energy systems, and even began to experiment with new technologies inspired by both Xiphoran and human ingenuity. Adrian and Lyra became symbols of partnership and courage, showing that collaboration between species could achieve incredible results. One afternoon, Lyra guided Adrian to a hill overlooking the city. From there, they could see smoke rising from workshops, children playing freely, and engineers testing flying vehicles. The scene was a testament to what freedom could create. Look at them, Lyra said softly. This is the world I always dreamed of but never thought I could have. And now, we see it coming to life. Adrian smiled. This is the power of humans and of hope. When people believe in themselves and work together, nothing is impossible. Today, Xiphora is proof of that truth. Yet, even as peace settled, challenges remained. Small factions of enforcers still resisted, attempting to reassert control over isolated areas. Adrian devised strategies to handle them without violence. Careful negotiation, diversion, and demonstration of the population's unity and intelligence. Slowly, the resistance crumbled. The enforcers realized that control was futile. The people were willing, capable, and united. Lyra led these efforts, speaking to remaining dissenters, sharing her story, and showing them that freedom was not chaos. It was responsibility, courage, and collaboration. By the end of the cycle, Xiphora was fully liberated, and its people had embraced self-governance and creativity. In the weeks that followed, Lyra and Adrian worked together to formalize education and leadership programs, ensuring that knowledge and freedom were passed to future generations. Children were taught both Xiphoran history and human philosophy, the importance of courage, intelligence, and compassion. Scholars were encouraged to innovate, engineers to create, and citizens to make decisions freely, guided by reason and ethics. This is more than liberation, Adrian said one evening as they watched the sunset. It is a new beginning, a civilization rebuilt on hope, wisdom, and partnership. Lyra nodded. And it is proof that humans and Xiphorans, working together, can create something extraordinary. I will never forget how you showed me the meaning of freedom and courage. Adrian smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. And I will never forget how you taught me that courage and leadership are universal. Freedom belongs to all who are willing to choose it. The citizens of Xiphora celebrated their liberation with festivals, workshops, and gatherings. Art, music, and technology flourished. Lyra became a respected leader and teacher, guiding her people with wisdom and compassion. Adrian continued to assist, sharing human knowledge, while learning from Xiphoran's unique perspective. In the heart of the settlement, a statue was raised. Two figures standing side by side, symbolizing partnership, courage, and freedom. Beneath it was inscribed, "Choice, courage, and knowledge are the foundation of all who seek freedom." Lyra placed a hand on the statue, her eyes reflecting the sun's golden light. This is what we have built, not for us alone, but for everyone who will follow. Freedom is a gift we must protect, share, and cherish. Adrian placed a hand over hers. And we will. Humans have always believed that courage and compassion can change the world. Today, Xiphora proves it. As the sun set, Adrian and Lyra stood together overlooking the thriving settlement. For the first time, Lyra felt complete freedom, not just from control, but from fear, doubt, and limitation. She had chosen her own path, led her people, and discovered strength she never knew she possessed. Adrian had shown her that courage, intelligence, and partnership could achieve the impossible. "This is only the beginning," Lyra said softly. "Our people will grow, explore, and create wonders we cannot yet imagine, and humans will always be welcome allies, guides, and friends." Adrian smiled. "Yes. And together, we will face whatever challenges come next, side by side, as partners and champions of freedom." The twin moons rose, casting silver light across Zyphora. The ruins that had once symbolized control and oppression now glimmered with life, energy, and hope. Humanity and Zyphorans had proven that courage, intelligence, and compassion could triumph over fear, and that freedom was worth every effort to achieve. And as the stars appeared in the night sky, Adrian and Lyra knew that their journey had changed Zyphora forever. A new civilization had begun, not born of force, but of choice, partnership, and unwavering courage. The story of humans and Zyphorans would be told for generations, a testament to the power of hope, ingenuity, and freedom.